Welcome back to another amazing episode of Tucked In Wizards, guys. As always, my name is Aidan, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben.
Welcome back, guys. Today we are kind of going back a little bit, looking at the 2024 NBA draft ahead of our 2025 mock drafts. So we'll see kind of what we got right, what we missed on, who we missed on. You know, just going back, taking a look at it, see how we do. And yeah, it gives us a chance to talk about how the rookies performed as well. So.
Yeah, always fun to have an excuse to talk about Bub, Sar, and Keyshawn.
Exactly.
But yeah, let's get right into it. Do you want to introduce our first pick?
We'll just since you picked the odd numbers, right, and I picked the even numbers, so we'll talk about the picks and compare it. You have the actual draft up, right?
I do have the actual draft up.
Okay, cool. So we can see where they went. So with the first pick in our 2024 mock draft, you had the Atlanta Hawks picking Donovan Clingan. Who I believe went ninth to the Trailblazers in real life. So, I mean, he was pretty good this year,
though. He went seventh, so not quite ninth. Not quite ninth. Yeah, seventh to the Trailblazers. And just looking at some of his stats, I have the totals here, or I have the per game here. So, just running through real quick. He shot about 50% from the field, 28% from three, had about 6 points a game, 8 rebounds, 1 assist.
Not a bad rookie season.
Pretty standard for around that area. I think he got picked correctly. Just going in a bit of my reasoning for that pick. I talked about it obviously. In that
because we were talking about this before, and you were still like, I would still done this.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, I would still do that if I was Atlanta. Reese O'Shea's great for them. They always need shooting. But just having like a rim-running big man that can block and catch lobs from Trey and just like kind of do all the little dirty things that, not to hate too much, but Clint Capella can't really do anymore.
Yeah.
I thought that would fit pretty well with what they're going. I think Zach Edey would have fit pretty well too, but I was a little higher on Donovan Clingan coming into the year. But yeah, what do you think about? Would you have been that surprised if they picked him?
I wouldn't have been surprised if they picked him. I do think if we're going back and looking, Reese O'Shea was the correct pick for them. Obviously, third rookie of the year, Clingan was not. But Clingan is going to most likely take the starting job from Aidan in Portland, so we should see. Like, you can't go back 1 year and be like, oh, definitively they should have done this versus this, because it's only been 1 year, right? But so we'll see how he does in the starting role. I'm really excited for Clingan. I think like you said, if he went number one, I don't think anybody would be disappointed, which, is what we're looking for. But again, Reese O'Shea probably the better pick at the time.
Yeah, I definitely think Reese O'Shea is a better pick, just as of now, retrospective. But this draft is interesting in that there's, I think, a lot of kind of pretty solid role players that flew under the radar, and I definitely think Donovan Clingan is one of those. The blocks, like he had that one game where he had like 7 blocks or something, and he was going crazy. And I think Atlanta really could use that.
We'll see when we do our mock draft. I'm pretty sure they're going to draft the center in this draft, so
yeah,
we'll see. Number 2 pick we got right. This was me. I picked Alex Sar for the Washington Wizards. He was going 1 or 2, right? So when he wasn't 1, he was clearly going 2. We talked so much about Alex Sar during the season, but I honestly think he went past expectations. I think he was better than expected, even though he was the number 2 pick. I think we were promised this really, really raw offensive player with good defense, and the defense was there. The offense was raw, but it was a lot less raw than what I thought. So, and he got a lot better at the end of the year as well.
Yes, I agree. Just like a bit of a retrospective, want to do a bit of a victory lap for us both. There were a lot of comments hating on Alex Sar going into the Summer League and after Summer League. And
I
think
he did have a terrible Summer League. So.
He did have a terrible Summer League. I'm not going to defend that. But everything that we said during the Summer League kind of came true. We were like, hey, you got to give this guy some time. You can't be really judging him just off 3 games in August. I think he really refined his game. He really showed that he is, at the very least, a long-time NBA player, if not a future star. Yeah. I'm super excited to see what he does going forward. I think this year's going to be big for him. And I think he could be one of those guys that maybe avoids that sophomore slump that is kind of common.
It's just such a great trio we got going on in DC with Bilal and Sar, and you pick your third guy, you put Keyshawn there, you put Bub there. Yeah. You can put Jordan Poole there if you want, but We'll talk about it when we go through all the rest of the picks as well. But the Wizards really hit on these 3 picks, and it's fantastic to watch all year, even though they kind of suck.
I agree. I'll talk about it when we get a bit lower, but just like comparing, there's only a few players that I feel like maybe you pick Jared McCain over Bub.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at it because Jared McCain's older, and Bub right now is as old as some of these young prospects coming into the draft. So
exactly.
I'm super
and he already has a game winner under his belt.
Yep. And all 82 games. He's the only player in this draft to play all 82.
Sure. It's true. So again, we talk so much about Alex R. So if you want to hear more about him, you could pretty much click on any of our other videos at this point.
Yeah.
Number 3, we had the Rockets. This was you. It was Zachary Richache. Obviously went number 1 in real life.
Yep.
You have him here for the Rockets. This would have been a much better pick than what they did end up getting in Reed Sheppard.
Yes.
But again, 1 year, Reed Sheppard's buried behind so many great Rockets players. It's hard to be like, oh, this dude sucks, when it's like he's buried behind so many players. It's hard for him to get a spot.
It's true. I mean, just
we can talk about Reed Sheppard later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm down to talk about Reed Sheppard a little bit later. I'm just gonna really quick introduce a stat line of 13 minutes played, 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Obviously not very impressive. But like you said, we can talk about him later when we talk about where we picked him. I don't have too much to say. Reese O'Shea would have been... that's a no-brainer. He
would have been perfect.
He's a number 1 pick that lived up to the hype year 1. So that's exactly what they needed. I think they could beat the Warriors with him in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because they would have had another wing to throw in there, and he would have gotten minutes on this
offense.
team.
Yeah. Okay. Big time.
Because he's had a fantastic, really under the radar for a number 1 pick in Atlanta. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't Rookie of the Year or anything, but he was in that top 3. So
yeah, Reese O'Shea shot 35% from 3 this year, which is for a rookie, that's incredible. Yeah. Even a rookie that's supposed to be a shooter, that's slightly above league average. Getting used to the NBA's pace and style of play, so I think I was really impressed with Reese O'Shea. I think that would be an amazing pick for Houston, of course. Yeah, because he won 1.
We were clearly a little down on him during the draft, I guess, if you can say 3 as being down on someone. But
yeah, I just think I was imagining number 1, just the Hawks really could have used a center, and they were competing now. And if you look at the addition of Reese O'Shea, he did great. Did not really change where they placed for the year.
No.
So that's not to say he didn't have any impact or anything, and I definitely think that they did the right thing with drafting the best player available in their eyes immediately. Because you can't really draft for fit like that. But I also think that he would have been great in Houston. I think a center would have been great in Atlanta. Kind of a win-win in our scenario, I think. Maybe a little high for Klingon, maybe a little low for Reese O'Shea, but Houston would have been happy.
Houston would have been so much happy because, again, Reed Sheppard did not really do anything this year. Not to say he won't. Number 4, and I guess there's a little bit of explaining to do. I picked Rob Dillingham over Stephon Castle, so obviously I was a little higher on Dillingham because of his offensive output. I do think he got a little bit... it's similar to a Reed Sheppard thing where he went to a Minnesota team, I believe. Yeah. Where did he go in real life? 8?
Minnesota.
Was it?
Yeah, 8. Yep.
So we could have flipped him and Castle, honestly, and it wouldn't be that crazy. But he got a little messed up because he went to Minnesota, and Minnesota was just so deep. But
yeah,
he really didn't earn that much playing time, unfortunately, even with that. And they were throwing out Mike Conley for a majority of it. I do think he'll have a better year 2 and year 3. I think he'll be better going forward. So I am excited to see Rob Dillingham's development. I haven't thrown in the towel on him. I'm still keeping my Dillingham stock. So
I agree, and we didn't. Sorry to cut you off a little bit, but we didn't talk too much about it. But I think the same about Reed Sheppard, and we'll talk about him a bit later, of course. Yeah. Had a bad year, kind of was relegated to G League for a lot. That doesn't mean he's gonna have a bad career. There's a lot of people who have had great careers who kind of started a little rocky. And like you said about opportunities, if you look at the minutes just from Dillingham and Castle played 27, Dillingham played barely 10. So it's exactly. Just the opportunity wasn't quite there for him.
Yeah, and I do think that the opportunity will be there for him more this coming year, even though Minnesota is trying to compete. Obviously, Spurs made the right decision in Castle. He was the Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
He's a building block going forward. This would have been the wrong decision. Good thing I'm not the GM of the Spurs, is what I have to say. But, I still think Dillingham will be good in his career. Maybe just not.
Funnily enough, the Spurs did draft Dillingham, just traded him. So that's something.
I guess technically, yeah. And you'll see, I kind of had to redo this mock draft, so you'll see some teams where originally we didn't have them going to that team. But because of the way the draft shaped out, we do have them going. It's kind of weird.
Oh, with trades and stuff?
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll remember, but...
I don't know either. I mean, I can look and I can see right now Rob Dillingham drafted 8 to San Antonio. Obviously, he's not on San Antonio.
Right.
So true, that obviously was a trade-up
so we can see
situation. That. Yeah.
Number 5, Matas Buzelis. Now, it's kind of a meme. I think we've had hating on him, but he was actually pretty good this year.
I was very impressed with him this year. I thought he came into a situation where it might have been similar to Reed Shepherd, where it's not a super deep Chicago team, but this is a team that didn't really know what they were doing coming into the season. I think they still don't really know what direction they're going in, which is a hard situation to succeed in. And I think Matas Buzelis did a great job. He had some insane dunks. I think he played really well towards the end of the season. He had 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1 assist off just under 20 minutes a game, which is pretty, I don't want to say elite, but that's very solid role player numbers. And for a rookie, that's amazing. And we were hating, saying we saw shades of Johnny Davis, but we did have him, 6, 5?
We have 5. We have 5.
And in real life, he was drafted 11.
And I do think that the Pistons would have, if this was the draft, the Pistons would have came out on top a little bit, because I believe real life was around Holland at 5, right? He was a bit good. He was good. But I think Matas Buzelis had a little bit more flair, and he had a little bit more impact for the Bulls than Holland did for the Pistons.
Yes, the stats are very comparable between the two. But I think, you just look at... His defense was amazing, but he did shoot 13% lower from 3 than Matas Buzelis did, so just that role, he could fill it a bit better. And this isn't to say he's going to be worse than Buzelis long term. It's always hard to tell with these young guys exactly how they're going to turn out. But I think if you swap those and, they pick Buzelis 5, I don't think they're very upset right now.
No, I think they're pretty happy. In fact, I think the only team that's really upset is probably San Antonio.
Yeah, right probably.
But we'll move on to another team. And, okay, so Reed Shepherd, we had 6 to Charlotte. They picked Tijani Saloon. Saloon was horrible. We'll talk about him later. I think Reed Shepherd would have actually been better here in this situation. Obviously, he wasn't available, but if the board did fall like this, Reed Shepherd would be a great fit for the Hornets. He would have gotten a lot more playing time. I mean, you got to look at Saloon's stats. Yeah. I mean, this dude, it's not looking great for him, I'll say that. Again,
I'm not trying to hate. They look pretty identical to Reed Shepherd, but a little better. I don't know. I don't think it changes that much for them. I think
they're probably still picking number 4 in this draft. I will say that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it changes a lot long term. I'm not very high into Tijani Salawan, so I don't know. I think it's just kind of comparing. Yes. Their situation is slightly better, and it's I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it makes that big of a difference.
We talked about Reed Shepherd a little earlier. He just didn't really get an opportunity in Houston. Yes, he would have gotten an opportunity here, that's for sure. That's
true. But also, you look at Reed Shepherd in the G League, and it's not that. His stats don't jump out at you. So it's he got an opportunity there for a bit. But he definitely would have had way more of an opportunity playing in Charlotte than Houston. I'm curious to see. I don't remember this draft very well, where we placed a lot of these people later in the draft. So I'd be curious to see where we had Tijani Salawan and if it kind of matches where his stats are right now.
Yeah,
I think 6 is pretty high for him. I was pretty surprised to see that.
I was very surprised he went 6. I feel like Noah Sengu's kind of getting some Salawan cops this year as well, which I think they're very different players just based off Noah's size and his ability to draw fouls. But when we talk about the mock draft, we'll talk about him as well. And a couple of
I just hate
French wings.
I hate when they comp rookies to other
Well, I'm talking about incoming draft, the draft type.
I know, but I hate when they do that.
Oh yeah, no,
because it's we don't know what player Tijani Salawan is yet. How can you compare a guy and be oh, he's going to be Tijani Salawan, and it's you don't know how he plays.
Yeah.
He hasn't developed his game
best
yet.
Missy comps for some of the centers in the draft, and it's like, he's a rookie.
Yeah. Like, you mean he's going to have a good first year? Like, that's really what you're saying there.
Yeah, pretty much. Number 7. And this was Portland. It was still Portland, I believe, right?
Yes.
This was Klingon. This was the Klingon pick. So we have.
This was the Klingon pick.
Dalton Connect from Tennessee with this pick. Probably this was you, right? So I guess
this was me. Yeah, I'm going to glaze myself a little bit here. I think this was a fantastic pick. I think every team in the NBA needs shooting. Portland also does need shooting. Like, they have, just like off the top of my head, Danny Avdija, obviously, is a Wizards fan. He's a pretty good shooter. I don't know if that's his perception around the league. But, you know, just having like a guy like DeAndre Aidan, he was starting for a large portion of the year. Just having a guy that can space the floor and hit shots like that would be really good for them. And I think Dalton Connect was one of those players that kind of went under the radar in this draft and had a fantastic rookie year in a situation which is pretty hard to excel in, where, you know, this is a brand new situation on the biggest team in the NBA who is kind of unclear about their future. And, you know, he recognized his role immediately. He's there to take shots and make shots. And that's kind of what he was doing all year. You know, he shot, just looking at his 3-point percentage, 38% from 3. Pretty great for a rookie. And I think any team in the NBA could have used him. So I think 7 is pretty appropriate for his level of play this year.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously they took Klingon in real life. He was not available at this time in our draft. But if he was, do you think he'd still go Connect, or do you think Klingon would be the move?
That's an interesting question.
Because obviously they made the decision and they took Klingon. And I do think Klingon was better during the rookie season, just as 2 completely different roles on 2 completely different teams, so it's hard to really tell. But
it is hard to compare.
I do think Klingon was a little better. But Dalton Connect, if the board felt like this, obviously, you know, Stephon Castle was down there, but you can't even think about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. We were very clearly very low on Stephon Castle, the reigning rookie of the year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I think it's a question of, like, did they pick Klingon this year because they thought he was the best one left, or did they pick Klingon this year because they were drafting for some sort of need? Like, if they were looking at a center, obviously they're going to pick Klingon if he's available there. I think me personally, just what I value in an NBA team, I think I'm taking Dalton Connect. Just with the shooting. And it's like, you see players who have one good shooting year and make their career off of it.
Duncan
Robinson, those types of guys.
Terry Rozier.
Yeah, he's not really like a sit in the corner, shoot 3 type of guy either. But those guys, we can only come up with a couple of them in the past couple of years because they're so rare. And I think if you can get one of those guys like Connect and really develop him to be a 40-plus 3-point shooter, he's going to be a 15-plus year career guy. Where Donovan Klingon also is a weird player because he fills a role that isn't really around anymore, but is extremely valuable. Shot blocking, big man.
It's an interesting comparison.
It is a very interesting comparison. 2 completely different players. I still think I'm taking Dalton Connect. I was very high on Dalton Connect to start the year too, so he had a great start and then kind of tapered off towards the end.
Yeah, when the Luka trade happened, it was hard to put him and Luka because of the defensive stuff. But we'll get
I think.
But
one last thing. I do think he gets a bit more opportunities in Portland than he would have gotten in LA.
Yeah, for sure. Just playing that wing position off the bench most likely. Number 8. So if you remember the Nikola Topic hype, obviously he was injured the whole year, right?
Yeah.
And we did this mock draft before we found out that he had his T-Rex arms, like hating to say.
That is
so he was super hyped coming into this year. Obviously did not go 8, and also this was the Spurs pick, right? So a very different situation. If I knew the Wolves were picking here, I don't know if Topic would be the pick. Maybe it would. But, you know, it's hard to really rank Topic right now. Where did he go in real life? It was
12
to OKC. So we weren't that far off, and he hasn't played an NBA minute yet, so we can't really talk about this. Rob Dillingham was the pick here instead, and again, he also didn't play that much. So who knows what to say, whether maybe Topic would have been the pick for Minnesota in this situation, but it's impossible to say. I don't even have much to say about it.
I don't have anything to say here. It's like it's comparing a guy who kind of struggled to start versus a guy who hasn't played an NBA minute. So it's like
due to injury, not due to being bad.
No, exactly, due to injury. So it happened. we had him 8. It's a little higher than where we went. I think I'd probably drop him even lower than 12, knowing the wingspan stuff. But OKC knows what they're doing, so
and
I trust them.
Couple games when we're recording this, a couple games from a championship, so we'll see if that actually happens. But this will be up
a couple
the finals.
They're 4. They're 4.
Yeah, they are 4. We're recording this right after game 1. We'll go to number 9 with Memphis. He picked Zach Edey, slam dunk pick for them in real life.
Yeah,
this would have been a complete whiff.
Who did we have?
Cody Williams.
Oh yeah, I was very high on Cody Williams. I really loved what I saw out of him. But I do want to say, in real life, drafted 10. Not too far away from where we were.
Yeah, not too far off.
But, just looking at the start, he had all the opportunities in the world. He had 21 minutes a game, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist off.
Yeah.
32% from the field, 25% from 3. That is abysmal.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And this is not to say that a player has never gone on to have a good career after a pretty abysmal rookie season. But, he did play 50 games, so he did have some injuries in there, which could contribute. But, in a redraft, I think he goes way lower. Probably.
He might not even make it out of the first round at this point.
Yeah.
If we're looking at all the players. This draft, everyone said it was weak. I think it was a lot better than people said.
I agree. Already we have some solid players. We haven't mentioned Stephon Castle because we didn't draft him.
And here we go. Stephon Castle. This is one where it's like, this is the complete opposite of what we had with the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies in ours would have completely whiffed. In real life, they picked Zach Edey, who I think was one of the best rookies this year. So obviously a hit there. Obviously a little older player, so we'll see how his career goes. But he'll be the starting center for some time in Memphis. And here we have the Jazz, who would have absolutely slam dunked it. Stephon Castle. Instead, they went with Cody Williams.
Yeah, I even remember a reasoning. We called out in the draft. We were like, maybe we're letting Stephon Castle drop a bit too far. I think I was looking with too much of a fit perspective, where I should have just been looking like, this guy's good. But I
think also the lack of shooting.
We were a little.
When a guard doesn't shoot well, it's hard to, know.
Yeah, but also at the same time, he was third in minutes for all rookies, behind 2 Wizards players. So, it's like he had more opportunities than anyone else did in San Antonio, especially towards the end of the season.
Would have had that in Utah as well.
But he would have had probably even more opportunities in Utah for being honest.
I think he would have taken Keontae George as starting point guard job, probably.
I agree. Collier basically did towards the end, so I agree. But yeah, in real life, complete whiff of a pick in my opinion. Buzelis went right after. He would have been better. You have guys like Bub Carrington, Jared McCain, Dalton Connect, Tristan Da Silva, Yves Missy, all guys who contributed pretty solidly in their first year. But again, this is the thing. It's hard to look back like that, and maybe Cody Williams is an all-star in 3 years. Nobody knows.
Yeah. But for our mock draft, the Jazz come out huge winners and would have set them up for the future. Probably still have the 5th pick this year. The team's not very good outside of that, but
yeah. They're not very good outside of that, and they purposely lost about 5 or 6 games they probably could have won. And no, that's not even counting when they sat Markkanen for like a month and a half. 2 months.
We're Wizards fans. We could hate on the Jazz. We tanked ethically.
Yeah, we did tank ethically. We got the fucking 6th pick as a reward. Fuck you.
All right, 11, Bulls, Isaiah Collier. He went 20-something in the draft, I want to say.
He went 29.
He went 29. We have him here at 11. And he had a pretty good year. I think Buzelis is probably a bit better, but Collier, I think having him this high is not that crazy.
Well, I mean, if you look at the stats, it's pretty close. Just looking at Isaiah Collier, he shot 42% from the field, 24% from 3, which is slightly worse than Montes Buzelis did. Not slightly worse. Montes Buzelis shot pretty well. But if you look at the points, obviously he has a little bit more opportunities in Utah than Buzelis got in Chicago, and he would not have gotten that in Chicago. But it's pretty equivalent. It's 9 points per game, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. Pretty good stats for a point guard rookie year, I think. And I think When did they had Giddey at this point last year, right?
Maybe not actually. Maybe they
I can't remember when he got traded.
I don't
either
way.
Either. He's a bit redundant with Giddey. I think Giddey's a pretty good point guard for what they're doing, and I think Buzelis fits a bit better with what they got going on. But I don't think they'd be that upset to have Collier with how things shook down this season. I thought Collier had a really, really good rookie season.
Yeah, and I think he'll be a little underrated as well because he played for that tanking Jazz team, and
I agree.
Outside of Jazz fans, not many people are watching them. So
yeah, I mean, I only knew him because I had Keyshawn George on my fantasy team, and he fucked over Keyshawn starts. So.
Keontae.
Yeah, or sorry, Keontae, not Keyshawn George. God damn it, I keep getting Keontae and Keyshawn confused.
All right, well, that's our top 11. We'll go a little faster through these next.
Yeah.
Picks here. We got Ron Holland here at 12, who went 5 in real life. This would have been another amazing pick for OKC. Getting Ron Holland at 12 with what he brought to the table, this would have been a perfect fit for the Thunder too, with his defensive intensity. He would have gotten minutes, I think.
Ron Holland didn't do shit this year on it.
No, but the defensive intensity and the transition game, this would have fit OKC.
It would have fit OKC. The shooting is kind of concerning to me with what OKC has going on. That's kind of like what they need out of their role players. We're kind of seeing what happens when their role players can't get that shooting going late in the finals right now. So I think it's just too hard to compare. Topic didn't play. Maybe he's way better
at 12, though, I think
Ron Holland
is. A steal.
Yeah, I think so too.
And but again, it's hard to compare because they just didn't play. But we talked about Ron Holland a little earlier. Number 13 this was Sacramento, I believe. Devin Carter. This was in real life?
Yes.
We had Kyle Filipowski. I think the Kings would have killed to have Kyle Filipowski, another Jazz guy that got a lot of opportunity. And he fell really far in the draft because of the Mormon issue. Yeah,
I will say this is before we learned that his girlfriend was exploiting him or whatever. So that probably
even with that, I think this is still a good range for him.
I think so too. He had a really good year to
start. They could have used a guy like Filipowski.
Yeah, I think they'd be really happy to have him, especially compared to Devin Carter, who didn't really do anything. Pretty injured when he was healthy. Was unable to string anything together. But also didn't get a whole lot of opportunity. I don't know what the fuck is going on in Sacramento, man. I don't know.
It's a rough scene. You think about Tyrese Halliburton and what he's doing. I don't know. It's just a rough scene for them. They could have had Luka or Tyrese or both, and they have neither, and both of those guys have finals appearances. So
I think they're suffering from drafting for fit better more than best player available, because if you look at their history, it's we got Jaren Fox. We don't need another point guard. Forget this Luka guy. Let's get a big man to pair with our star point guard.
Exactly.
Darren Fox leaves 5 years later. Oh, well, we have our star point guard already. Why deal with Halliburton? Let's just ship him off for another big man. No, man, you don't need any of that. Just keep Halliburton. Imagine if you have Luka, Halliburton, you trade Fox for some bullshit. But obviously, it's
all
retrospective. That was kind of considered a win-win trade when it happened.
Although I think at this point, it's firmly in a loss for Sacramento, which seems to be a lot of their trades, unfortunately. But Filipowski would have been a good pick there again. Devin Carter didn't do much.
I agree, for sure.
Number 14. Okay, this is where the trades start because we did not have Tijani Salawan going to the Wizards. That was before the Denny trade. So this was the Blazers pick, if I remember. So we had Salawan going to the Blazers. Who did they pick in real? Oh, this was Bub Carrington.
This is Bub. Yeah, this is Bub.
Obviously, Bub a lot better than Tijani at this point. This probably would have been a miss for the Blazers. At 14, unfortunate. You roll the dice on potential, which is what I was kind of what I was kind of thinking at the time. Obviously, would not have worked out, but there's still a lot of time for him. We'll see if he can kind of be better in these next years. Would have been a miss, but again, late in the lottery, don't think it's too big of a deal.
No. And if you look at what Portland did do, they did kind of take a smaller, but a swing for a young guy with potential versus an established guy with Klingon over his Edie. So.
Yeah, and
we were thinking
even with the trade. Obviously, this was before the Denny trade. They needed that kind of wing player, which they ended up getting in Denny. And this guy would have fit. Obviously, Denny so much better,
way better
as a player. Number 15.
Yeah, not much to say. I'm happy Bub's on the Wizards. I think we nailed that pick and that trade. And I think he's way better than Solomon. So
That's definitely for sure.
That's a dub.
That is a dub. Here's another miss that we would have had. We had Devin Carter going to Miami. This was Khalil Ware.
This was Khalil Ware. Yeah, 15.
Yep. And Khalil Ware was really good this year. And we talked about Devin Carter, obviously. Not so much.
Yeah. But, you got to see the reasoning. Like, tough, young defender that plays hard with a lot of hustle. Like, that always fits what the Heat have going on. Obviously,
and it's always hard to say
also kind of fits that description. Yeah. Who knows? Obviously, it wasn't available there, so they got saved from that decision. And at the end of the day, not sure if it makes a big difference in Miami anyway, so...
Yeah, we'll see where they're kind of going. I like Ware, at least, for the potential going forward.
I agree.
I don't know if Devin Carter gives that same hope to the Heat franchise.
It's also hard to tell, though, because Devin Carter was injured and played half as much as Khalil Ware when he was playing.
Exactly.
So, again, the opportunity just wasn't there for him.
Yeah, and we'll see Devin Carter hopefully be better in the next year for Sacramento, who needs it. Now, this is probably the biggest miss so far. Actually, Cody Williams, but... was this Jared McCain in real life? I don't even know.
This is Jared McCain. Correct,
yeah, so they clearly made the correct choice. Tyler Smith got drafted, I believe, in the second round. My thing was, look, he's a big wing. Sixers need wings. He could run in transition. He'll be a good fit next to Maxey and Embiid, neither of which played even that much this year. I guess neither did McCain. But McCain, obviously, Rookie of the Year path before he got injured. Tyler Smith, I don't even know who he got drafted to. He really didn't play at all this year.
He's in Milwaukee. He played 23 games, 5 minutes per game. Yeah, not really looking good.
And he was a second-round pick?
He was a second-round pick, 33. Yeah.
So picking him at 16 would have been a pretty big miss. Definitely got that wrong. Or I guess I got that wrong. I was at 16.
And I think Jared McCain could be the player of this draft.
Yeah.
He really impressed me in the 20-so games he played this year.
Yeah, he was incredible as a shot maker.
Yeah, and just like, even beyond a shot maker, the decision making was... I hate to praise a Sixers player this much, but the decision making was past his years, I think.
Yeah, for such a young guard, because he was a freshman, I believe. We have him somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll get to him, but not so much I have to say about Tyler Smith other than that. Fortunate pick for me there. Number 17, Zach Edey. This would have been slam dunk for the Lakers.
Yeah. I mean... I think for any team past 10, if they get the opportunity to draft Edey, they probably take that, knowing what we know now.
Yeah.
But we had real concerns about Zach Edey's defense, Zach Edey's motor transitioning over to the NBA. This was right after we watched him kind of suck in the finals of the NCAA last year. Yeah. And the big thing was that a lot of players just didn't look scared of him on the defensive end. And we did kind of see that translate over to the NBA where he was getting challenged a lot. But he did do better than I thought on that end and was able to hold his own a bit more than I expected.
And maybe he got the Jaren Jackson help. But, at the time they had Anthony Davis, so it would have been the Anthony Davis help. Obviously, also a little bit of an older player. So those guys tend to go later. I was really surprised when the Grizzlies picked him at 9.
Yeah, me too.
And, it's just a weird style of play. I thought he'd have to be someone you'd probably have to almost build an offense around, but he really fit into his role in Memphis of not having to be that guy.
I think looking back, I think this obviously the Lakers would want AD on the team more because we were looking at this through the lens of LeBron paired with AD, but now LeBron paired with Luka, I think AD succeeds way more. Where we saw Dalton Connect kind of lose some of those opportunities as Luka came in and they were getting a bit more serious about the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Edey went way higher, so it's hard to say this was Dalton Connect in real life. Another really good pick for the Lakers, I thought.
Yeah, I thought this was a slam dunk. Obviously, I'm high on Dalton Connect. I had him, 7?
Yeah.
So I think this was great for them. I think Dalton Connect's going to have a long NBA career. But the Lakers do have a unfortunate habit of trading away their young guys for established players, so we'll see if he's even a Laker long term.
Yeah, although that trade for Mark Williams would have been fantastic for them.
I think,
if that went through.
I agree.
Number 18. Oh, sorry, no. You had those.
I was just going to say, I think we're going to see Dalton Connect packaged into a package like that in the future for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well. Number 18, we have Jacoby Walter, who I don't actually know much about in terms of what he did this year. He got picked 19 for Toronto, so we were actually really close.
I can go ahead and just speak to the stats a little bit, just because I have it right in front of me.
He did get 19 to Toronto, though.
He did go 19 to Toronto, correct?
So we were pretty close. And this was Tristan Da Silva, if I remember.
Yeah, it was Tristan Da Silva. 40% from the field, 34% from three, slightly higher from three than Tristan Da Silva, slightly low overall. About the same minutes. In those minutes, Jacoby Walter had 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 1.5 assists, which is about 1.5 more than Tristan Da Silva, but pretty much across the board besides that. Pretty equivalent.
So being a younger guy, Jacoby Walter anyway, probably the Magic would have preferred to take him in this situation, I would say. Just based off their shooting numbers, because, man, the Magic shot poorly. But neither of them would have made an impact this year, or he wouldn't have made an impact this year.
Yeah, and Jacoby Walter was slightly above, and this was also in a team where he had a bit more opportunities than Tristan Da Silva did, because this Orlando team is more serious about competing than Toronto, obviously, right now. So it's hard to say, but pretty equivalent. I think you could swap the two and not be too upset. And I think he had a pretty solid season, just kind of flew under the radar a little bit on Toronto because they're so bad. But I definitely have seen Toronto fans happy that they picked him, and I think Orlando would have been happy to have him for sure. But I don't think they're very upset about drafting Da Silva.
No, me neither. Maybe in Orlando he actually would have gotten more time seeing how bad KCP was.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I thought shooting guard, but obviously in Toronto fans pretty happy to have him, like you said.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk about him a bit more. 19. This was you. You had Ves Missy going to the Raptors. This would have been a great pick for the Raptors as well. Obviously went 21 to New Orleans.
New Orleans, correct.
And I know New Orleans fans are very happy to have Ves Missy. So
yeah, I mean, Rookie of the Year candidate. Amazing start of the season. Kind of tapered off towards the end, and I think kind of struggled to coexist with Zion when Zion did play. But that doesn't really matter that much because Zion doesn't play. So whatever. And I think New Orleans is very happy about it. I think Toronto would also be very happy about it. But I don't think any of them are that upset with who they ended up with.
This is a funny situation. I'm kind of looking at our next 3 picks because Missy, obviously, to Toronto. We have Da Silva here is the next one to Cleveland. Do you know who
I think Cleveland would love that. They actually picked in real life Jalen Tyson, who had a terrible year.
He was amazing. I did see him play a little bit in the playoffs, but Da Silva, I do think would have been better. 9
minutes, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, for potential-wise, sure. Da Silva would have definitely made more of an impact this year. And I do think that these 3 picks, both, I mean, teams are probably pretty happy with where they go, but they'd almost be happier with if they went with our picks, maybe? I don't know.
I agree. You have Jacoby Walter in Orlando can fill that KCP role where Tristan Da Silva was good but a little redundant and lost some time behind when Franz came back and that kind of thing. And Ves Missy over to Toronto, that's the type of player they love. This like big motor, highly athletic big man. And then Cleveland, I think, would be happy to have anybody but Jalen Tyson. So if they
but having a win now senior that is just in the right places at all the right times would help them.
I think it definitely would have helped them. And obviously he wasn't available, and they probably do pick Da Silva if he's available there.
Yeah.
And I don't think, again, Orlando's very upset to have Da Silva.
No, me neither. We could go to 21, another team that probably would be pretty happy with their pick. Obviously, Missy in real life. We go with another center here in Khalil Ware. Another center that had a really, really good year for Miami. Picked, obviously, much higher. So he was never going to be available at this time. But, Pelicans are probably pretty happy if the board falls like this and they get Ware.
Yeah, they had pretty equivalent years. Obviously, Ware's slightly better as a three-point shooter because Ves Missy did not make a single three in his rookie year. But he doesn't really take very many of them. I think New Orleans is pretty happy with what they got. I also think they'd be happy with Khalil Ware. So pretty win-win with our scenario versus theirs. I think Miami might be a little less happy not having Ware and having Devin Carter instead, but fuck Miami, who cares?
They definitely would be a little unhappy, but again, with the injuries, it's hard to see where Devin Carter will, come about. 22. So this has the Nuggets. I don't believe it was the Nuggets when we did this.
No, this was a trade. Phoenix traded up Or traded back. Denver traded up to get DeRon Holmes, and Phoenix traded back to get Ryan Dunn. Which
so
we didn't even have in our draft.
So was this Phoenix? This was Phoenix.
This was technically Phoenix picking, but it is a Denver.
It ended up being Denver, but it would have been. So we were drafting from the perspective.
We were drafting Phoenix, correct?
Okay, this would have been such a big hit for Phoenix.
Yeah.
Bub Carrington. He probably would have taken Tyus Jones minutes. I mean, actually, the way the Suns were kind of playing, probably not. Who they draft in real life? Ryan Dunn. Actually, Ryan Dunn does kind of fit what they were going for.
Yeah, I think Ryan Dunn fit pretty well.
I don't know if he would have gotten the opportunity he did in Washington with Phoenix.
I think Bub runs the second unit for sure, but I agree that there's times where expectations would have him taking a step back, where obviously he played 30 minutes a game all 82 games in Washington. That doesn't happen at all. If you look at Ryan Dunn, he played about 20 minutes a game for 74 games. So he I think would have similar opportunities, but he is at a situation where, he's behind Tyus Jones, who himself is behind, KD, Beal, and Booker.
Exactly.
But this is also a situation where we saw Ryan Dunn kind of step into a bigger role because he was playing that well. And I think Bub Carrington would have had that as well. We might have seen spurts where Bub Carrington starts for this team.
Depending on
it's such a weird situation for Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, we can. They're definitely one of the worst futures in the NBA right now, just based on what they got going for them. But
in my opinion, they're the worst given the context of what we have from them. Where if they're bad in 2028 or even next year, if they jump in the lottery, we have a pick.
Yeah, so. Bub Carrington to Phoenix. I think it's a wash. I think it's pretty even with that. I know we didn't pick Ryan Dunn. I remember we both had concerns over Ryan Dunn's shooting because in college he was pretty atrocious from three.
Well, if there's one thing I learned this year, is you got to throw out those college stats. You can't be using those college stats when they don't translate to the NBA like that.
We were watching a Suns game at the beginning of the season. Ryan Dunn hit like 2 threes, and the announcer goes, "Throw out the college stats." It's like game 3 of the season.
Actually, I'm curious. I'm gonna pull up Ryan Dunn's college stats to compare to his shooting percentage this year. His rookie year he shot 31% from 3. Last year he shot 20%. Sorry, 2 years ago he shot 20% from 3. Shot 31% in the NBA, so definitely better than his senior year for sure. I thought he had especially for where he went, 28. I thought Ryan Dunn had a really good rookie year.
He went 28? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, who was the 22 pick?
Phoenix. But
but who was the actual pick?
Denver, DeRon Holmes.
DeRon Holmes, okay.
Yeah. So, which obviously
we can't,
no, you can't say. But looking through the lens of, instead of Phoenix, if that trade went through and they picked Bub Carrington instead, I don't think he would have gotten an opportunity in Denver. Yeah, I mean, he's behind Russ. He's behind Jalen Pickett. He's behind Strother. Like, there's just too many young guys that need opportunities in Denver. And, we saw that. There's so many young guys that need an opportunity. We saw them fire a coach who refused to play those young guys.
Yep.
So, I think definitely, I'm happy with how it turned out. And I think...
Me too.
It's hard to say with DeRon Holmes. I think Denver fans are also happy because I think DeRon Holmes is going to immediately contribute I think he's going to be their backup center for this year if he's
I think he will as well. Number 23, this was Milwaukee.
This was Milwaukee
because when we get later in the draft, there were a lot of trades.
I think from out here, I think it'd be good if I can start with the real pick and then you can come in with who was picked instead. And number 23 for Milwaukee, we do have AJ Johnson, Wizards legend,
future Wizard, who we didn't even have in the first round.
Future Wizard. No, and it's kind of funny if you look at his stats. He only played 29 games, and I think probably 15 of those are with the Wizards.
Yeah, he did not play a lot in Milwaukee. We had Johnny Furphy, Pacers legend, by the way. He's on the Pacers.
Yep,
could win an NBA ring this year.
Went 35. Definitely had a worse debut than AJ Johnson. I think AJ Johnson's a better pick. I just didn't know who this guy was coming in.
Yeah, AJ Johnson, we just didn't have any information on him pretty much at all. I don't even think he was mocked in the first round in most mocks.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I guess if this went through, Johnny Furphy would be a Wizard. Maybe we're happy with it. Johnny Furphy didn't really get much playing time this year either.
No.
So
No, if you look at AJ Johnson,
he went the second round.
He did. He went 35. AJ Johnson has 22 minutes per game. Johnny Furphy is 7. So very hard to compare. Yeah, 7 minutes. You never know what's going to happen.
Garbage
you
time.
give him more of an opportunity. Yeah, but I think AJ Johnson really fits with what we're kind of trying to do on this Wizards team. Long, athletic, young guy.
Furphy's 6'7" that can shoot. So again, the jury's still out on Johnny Furphy. We'll see if he ever gets an opportunity at this point, because he is on a pretty stacked roster.
Yes, but if you're on a roster, I think the Pacers are one of those teams where you can make a name for yourself in practice and translate that over. So I think if out of all the playoff teams, I think it's a pretty good situation for him.
Yeah, and we'll see.
And the Pacers fans love him so far, so we'll see.
He's Australian, I believe, too.
Nice.
I know that. Number 24.
Yes.
This was Wizards in real life. They picked Keyshawn George. I do not know who it was.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. 24 picked Keyshawn George. I don't remember the situation. I think we traded up for him because this is a New York Knicks pick.
Okay, so it's the Knicks.
Actual draft.
So this was Justin Edwards to the Knicks is what we picked. And Keyshawn George probably better. Justin Edwards, believe, went to Philly.
I don't think Justin Edwards got drafted.
Yeah, I think he went undrafted, but I'm pretty sure he got picked up.
Yeah, he's not on here, so I don't know.
Look up Justin Edwards, because I could be thinking of someone else. He actually had a pretty good rookie year for someone who was undrafted. Yeah. I think he started for a lot for Philly, so the Knicks probably would have been pretty happy with him if they picked him here at 24.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell with Philly. Just like, he got 26 minutes a game on Philly because of their situation where they were just playing bums. But I'm saying I don't know if he gets that on the Knicks.
No, he doesn't. In fact, I'm going to group these two together because Knicks had technically back-to-back picks, and we had Justin Edwards and Jared McCain. I don't know if either of those two would have had the opportunity playing with Tibbs.
True, with Tibbs, yeah. Although Jared McCain is just so good. I think even Tibbs would be like, okay, like, we got to play this guy. Like, who's the Knicks backups point guard?
Deuce McBride right now.
I think Jared McCain would get opportunities over Deuce McBride for sure. But who knows with Tibbs? That dude's in love with veterans and defense, so maybe not. I think
Jeremy who is this actually? Pacomi Diade.
Yeah, Pacomi Diade. Just didn't really get much of an opportunity. Didn't really play. Played 18 games, 6 minutes a game for those 18 games. Kind of tough to judge that guy right now.
Yeah. We'll kind of go through the last 5 pretty quickly. We got Keyshawn at 26 to the Thunder. Who was that in real life? I don't remember.
It's the Wizards, funnily enough. So we nailed Keyshawn.
Oh, that was correct.
To the Wizards.
Oh yeah. We nailed Keyshawn.
Because this is the trade.
Correct.
This is the Phoenix. Yeah. This is the before the Knicks trade. So we did get Keyshawn to the Wizards. I don't know.
He was just a wizard. We fit.
Yeah. I mean, perfect fit. Shooting, defense, the athleticism and the height. Length for a young guy.
See, we know the Wizards. Keep an eye out for our mock draft. We're gonna get the 18th pick correct.
Yes, we are. And then in real life, this was Dylan Jones, who ended up going to New York, I think.
Okay, and I'm guessing he didn't really do much.
He played a lot. Didn't really do much in those minutes. So he must have been a pretty good defensive guy. Yeah, I'll introduce 27. We got Terrence Shannon Jr. to Minnesota in real life.
Great pick by Minnesota. We had Bobby Klinkman. Terrence Shannon was such a spark plug for them in the playoffs. So he had some. The reason why I didn't draft him in this is he had some bad allegations against him, and I wasn't sure.
Oh, is it the shooting?
No,
like
that
the
was
gun charges.
He had some sexual assault allegations.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what happened with that.
I don't remember what happened either, but he played not a lot. He played, so I guess.
Yeah. Great pick for Minnesota. I mean, he was a good spark plug for them. I don't know how the allegations went. I don't know what happened there. We had Bobby Klinkman, who I don't think got any time, but tall wing.
Kind of funny. Bobby Klinkman did go to Minnesota, just at 37 instead of 27. So 10 picks later, we nailed that, but he did not do very well. Didn't really he had 8 games, 5 minutes in all those games, so didn't really have much of an opportunity to prove himself.
Yeah, 28. Who was 28 in real life? That was
Denver. Ryan Dunn.
So
obviously part of that De'Ron Holmes trade.
Nailed
we got. That's actually funny. We had De'Ron Holmes to Denver.
Yeah.
I think actually, if I remember correctly, we reasoned, I think this was you, your reasoning was, hey, Denver needs a backup center. This is kind of an older guy that can come in and contribute immediately. Obviously, it didn't happen as he tore his ACL in preseason, which was very unfortunate.
But Denver did trade up for him, so.
Yep, Denver did trade up, and this was the right idea. So,
yeah.
I'm pretty happy
Number
with
29, that. Kevin McCullough Jr., a senior from Kansas to Utah. I believe he went in the second round in real life. This was Isaiah Collier.
Yes, it was Isaiah Collier.
We had way higher. No brainer for the Jets, but Collier at this spot.
Yeah. Kevin McCullough went to Phoenix at 56. I'm going to be honest, this is the point of the draft last year where I went, I don't know who the fuck any of these guys are. I'm just going to pick something and mock him there. Yeah. But didn't really get much of an opportunity. He only played 4 games in Phoenix.
Yeah, and honestly, probably won't get much of an opportunity in the NBA, just because of his age, unfortunately, unless he has a couple of good games. I had Bronny here. It wasn't Bronny, obviously. We picked a guy who went back to college.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. Peyton something. He's in the draft this year. He might be a late first to early second. We'll talk about him, I'm sure.
I have no clue who it actually was either. In real life, it's Baylor Shireman to Boston, who had a pretty good rookie season for Boston.
Obviously, not Bronny. We did not mock Bronny to this.
No, we did not. I think if we had Bronny mocked, we'd have him mocked to LA in the second round, which is what happened. So I'll give myself a pat on the back for that hypothetical pick.
In the hindsight. But that's our draft from last year. It's fun going back through it. We'll have our mock draft up pretty soon.
Yeah, I think we did pretty well overall. There's some players which I think we nailed, like Deron Holmes. I think getting Dalton Connect, I think he would go way higher in a redraft, so I'm pretty happy with that. And we got most of the Wizards players except for Bub because we didn't know who he was and called him Carlton Carrington.
And also, we thought the Wizards would only have 2 picks, so maybe if they knew the trade was going to happen, we would have gotten that right. Though probably not.
Yep. Hard to say. Keep an eye out for our mock draft coming soon, probably in the next week or so.
We're going to nail the Wizards picks again. We got both of them right in this one, except the one that we didn't know was going to exist. So.
All right.
Yeah, with that, Gafford, take us out.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy DG. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Nothing major. We hitting the wizard bed tonight, baby. Let's get it. Gafford out.